Someplace out on the huge spread of Lake Predominant, a group of specialists are examining the frigid profundities. Utilizing the most recent innovation, they uncover privileged insights and address secrets that range hundreds of years. In any case, when they coincidentally find a bizarre element many feet underneath the surface, they find beyond anything they could have expected. Cameras brushing the lower part of Lake Unrivaled made a disclosure that left specialists in stunningness. But before we get started, if you're enjoying this video, show us some love by subscribing. It's the best way to support us and never miss out. Let's get started. For quite a long time, the individuals from a verifiable society situated in Salt Sweet Marine, Michigan have been brushing Lake Prevalent, wanting to uncover relics from the locale's tempestuous past. As reality behind the revelation unfurled, an intriguing notable secret was settled. At the point when a group from the incomparable Lakes Wreck Verifiable Society, or GLSHS, set out on a campaign out onto Lake Predominant, established back in 1978. As a matter of fact, since the mid-1900 years, cruising ships have consistently ventured to every part of the waters of the incomparable lakes, conveying freight and travelers between different objections in Canada and the US. Be that as it may, conditions in this region of the planet can be deceptive, and few out of every odd vessel came to its last objective unblemished. Today, it's accepted that upwards of 6,000 boats have been lost in the incomparable lakes, since records started with just about 600 in Lake Unrivaled alone. Subsequently, a thick quality of secret looms over the locale. With its work, the GLSHS has been endeavoring to determine a portion of these secrets and focus a light on the historical backdrop of the incomparable lakes. Furthermore, to do as such, individuals leave on customary overviews and scopes of the lakes, furnished with hardware that permits them to wharf directly into the extremely most profound waters. For reasons unknown, 2021 ended up being an incredible year for the GLSHS. That late spring, a group of specialists were going along the outer layer of Lake better utilizing sonar innovation than study its profundities, and at a spot exactly 35 miles from the Michigan shore, their gear and rolled an obscure item around 650 feet down. Was it the disaster area of one of Lake Prevalent's incredible last ships, or was there something different hanging tight for them far below the surface? At first, the scientists couldn't decide the idea of the peculiarity. Thus, they hailed it, fully intent on returning for a more critical look. In practically no time, the group was back in a similar piece of lake, better prepared than tackled the secret unequivocally. As the camera passed by the puzzling item, its actual character before long turned out to be obvious from the particular state of the bow and anchor to the wheel half covered in sand. Minutes after the fact, the camera zeroed in on the boat, uncovering the character of the secret vessel unquestionably. Addressing the New York Times in Walk 2020 to the incomparable Lakes Wreck exhibition halls, Bruce Lynn made sense of, "You never fully know until you see a conclusive evidence." What's more, the named leading group of the Atlanta truly sticks out, Lynn said in an authority proclamation dated Walk 2022. On camera, it looks impeccably protected, as though it sank only weeks prior. Truth be told, the chilly temperatures in Lake Prevalent make the best circumstances for protecting items like wrecks, and wild provinces of zebra mussels can frequently darken submerged locales somewhere else in the incomparable lakes. This obtrusive species doesn't flourish here. Be that as it may, should specialists even touch the URI survives from the disaster area. Addressing the New York Times, Lynn said it would be rude to obstruct the disaster area in any capacity. He said these resemble grave locales, he ought to be aware. Throughout the long term, countless wrecks have been found grayish fish point. Furthermore, a significant number of them, as the specialists found, have stories that are similarly just that dreary of the Atlanta. On November 10, 1975, the boat was gotten out by awful climate on Lake Prevalent, similarly as the scientists later scholarly the Atlanta had been 80 years prior. What's more, very much like the Atlanta, it didn't return to port. All things being equal, the Edmund Fitzgerald sank into 530 feet of water, taking 29 lives with it. Furthermore, since it has been one of the most notorious wrecks of the incomparable lakes, in any event, rousing of society diddy the year after it sank. Today, the beauty of the vessel should be visible in plain view in Lynn's Historical Center, where it fills in as a remembrance to the people who lost their lives in the calamity. Scientists from the GLSHS tracked down some of extra wrecks from the 100 years, including the straightforward W. Wheeler, a clipper that sank in 1885. In a proclamation dated October 2021, Lynn said this has been a really successful season later. He added, "We have never found such countless new wrecks in a single season. Not a solitary one of them, nonetheless, have been very as captivating or too saved as the Atlanta considering these wrecks." Regardless of the flawless state of the disaster area, the Atlanta sank underneath the surface over quite a while back. As per reports, the clipper barge left Bisson, New York in 1891 in transit to Duluth in Minnesota. Yet the 172-foot vessel stacked down with a hold loaded with coal was not going without any outside help. All things considered, the Atlanta had deals down with the liner Wilhelm towing it consistently across the incomparable lakes. Incidentally, the area of the Incomparable Lakes Wreck Exhibition Hall, the weather conditions turned foul, and for a really long time, the Wilhelm battled to tow the Atlantic through progressively slippery circumstances. The U.S. Life-Saving Administration's yearly report, which was delivered in June 1891, expressed that the team of the Atlantic at first attempted to raise their own sail. However, the blast broke, leaving the vessel floating weakly in difficult situations and irate breezes, and for the following 20 minutes, it was driven across the lake, trapped in the entirety of the hurricane. Ultimately, at 11 a.m. the next morning, the choice was taken to leave the Atlanta. By that point, the hold was stressing under 10 feet of water. Sinking was inescapable, so the team of 7 moved into the raft and struck outwards land. Only 10 minutes after the fact, reports guarantee the Atlanta sank underneath the outer layer of Lake Unrivaled. In the meantime, the raft floated in the breeze until those locally available detected the Fresh Point life-saving station somewhere far off. Obviously, their skipper wished to push on towards more secure landing conditions at Whitefish Narrows, however, without casted a ballot by his team. While battling to shore at Fresh Point, the boat upset, sending its travelers tumbling into the freezing water, and albeit the team of the Atlanta figured out how to compose their vessel, it flipped again, leaving only 2 survivors gripping to the battered boat. At long last, a post on shore noticed the vessel in trouble, having at first confused it with a tree root or log drifting in the lake. As per the U.S. Life-Saving Help report, the 2 men were in such awful condition that it required a few hours of the most unremitting exertion before they were out of risk. A couple of days after the fact, Standby kept in touch with his heroes to communicate gratitude for their courageous mediation. Up until the revelation of the Atlantic on the lower part of Lake Unrivaled. It peruses, "I wish to communicate my gratitude to the existence-saving help." Then, at that point, the letter Waite proceeds to make sense of that circumstances in the lake were so awful he could never have endured significantly longer. The Atlanta then confronted a grievous end, diving to the lower part of Lake Predominant while its team died inside sight of land. In it, we can see the ROV moving toward the disaster area of the Atlanta. Interestingly, indeed, even the covers for the boats brings forth the video uncovers stay set up after over a century submerged. After the calamity, Standby and Pickle expressed that every one of the boat's sails had been obliterated by the tempest. Nobody needs to ask where the Atlantic is anymore. GLSHS punctuation Dara alertable made sense of in the explanation. However, since the secret has at long last been settled, what will befall the disaster area? As indicated by Corey Atkins, who additionally works for the Authentic Culture, the boat and its items will probably remain where they are, and for justifiable reasons. Back in 1980, the territory of Michigan got regulations to safeguard the wrecks that rest at the lower part of the Incomparable Lakes. Also, under this regulation, it would really be unlawful for the GLSHS or some other association to attempt to raise the Atlantic back to the surface. Other than doing so would be very risky, as Atkins made sense of. That disaster area is so profound contrasted with others we found, we might want to leave this one undisturbed. Atkins told CNN in WALK 2022. Also, given the way that the Atlantic is situated out of the scope of jumpers, he is probably going to get his desire. As an insurance, however, the GLSHS has not delivered the specific area of the vessel. This doesn't mean wreck fans won't ever get to see a credible wreck face to face. In any case, as the revelation of the Atlanta has shown, the wrecks of the Incomparable Lakes are not all only relics transferred to the past. Furthermore, albeit these disaster areas will be passed on to find happiness in the hereafter, they will not be forgotten for one more 100 years. As indicated by Atkins, there are plans to organize a show committed to the disaster area of the Atlantic at the exhibition hall. Thanks for watching. If you don't want to miss out on any of our upcoming videos, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. It's the best way to stay in the loop.